p.m.
And we're good. Just start whenever you are.
All right, we're going to call the meeting to order. This is a work session on May 17th, 2021 at 7:25 p.m. Pardon me? Clerk Stollard, could you take roll?
Okay. So, Lebrecht?
Here.
Pemberton?
Here.
Benoit?
Here.
Okay. Ward?
Here.
Chair cease.
Here.
You have a quorum, Chair.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have, let's see.
It's just a work session, so you'll jump
Right,
right
so
on
we
in.
can just drive right in?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So we will begin with,
I just do Conzi.
yes. Yeah, we're gonna begin with Commissioner Lebrecht's information. This was the packet that he created. So Commissioner Lebrecht, I'm gonna allow you to take it from here.
All right, wonderful. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, well, lots of good things happening, so wanted to give you an update. So starting with, I did send out some information, a report, which is essentially a laydown. We are pretty much on time with timeline as far as what we need to do, so we should have been by the 15th, which was 2 days ago, all artwork provided to iZone, pre-production and fabrication. That means sent from our designer to iZone. He had a couple of last minute things he asked us to do, but it was all sent off, I believe, this morning to iZone, which is the company that's going to manufacture. We're also going to order posts tomorrow morning, identify how many of each post that we need, and we'll get that done as well. That deadline was set for the 20th. So we'll be ahead of that. We're going to come back to this in a minute here. We'll talk about the fact that heaters from Corvus Designs has expressed us having some type of a plan B just in case the signs don't get here when they're supposed to get here. We don't know. Whatever COVID or delays or anything else, what would happen. So I'm not concerned about that at this point, but we need to have some conversation about that. And we can talk about that in a minute. We talked about having by June 1st, we're walking towards mass design completeness. I know that Mary Ann, Commissioner Benoit, will speak about. She's been working on the narrative side of things. We're pretty close to that. By June 10th, manufacturing of signs is supposed to be complete and shipped, and maps are printed maps will be received by the 15th. The actual signs were scheduled to be sent to us by June 21st. We do have to hold a public event showing off the signs. So I want to have a discussion about that after I get through the rest of my report and some possibilities for how there's two things need to happen. One, we need to meet our grant requirement, which is to have some type of public unveiling of the signs and the work that we've done. The second is getting them in the ground. Those things do not need to be mutually exclusive. We looked at potential of having done 30th of June. I have some discussion about that. Final reports due by 7/31. And if in fact we had everything done we want to get done, we could do some type of additional ribbon cutting or something, but that's to be discussed. I also realize it's for July for the Mount Marathon, for example, on the 7th, I believe. So Commissioner Benoit will give her report after this about the 26 signs. Signs are ordered, like I said. The budget, I just got some new pieces on budget today, but we are on track with that. Corvus Designs has come in at $11,000, which is what they originally quoted, but they've now wrapped in the printed map into that for all the design of that printed map, which we thought we were going to have to do externally, which we don't. And then there's the sign manufacturer, which, like I said, I got an updated quote on today, which I need to take a look at, which is around $7,100. I think it came in just a little under that. We'll need backhoe rental, concrete mixer rental at some point as well. I've been talking to Bruce Jaffa about that a little bit. Supplies and materials, again, printed maps. There is a cost, so the cost of designing them is included in the $11,000. spent somewhere close to about $500 that we will have on picture rights. So we're pretty close to where we need to be. As noted previously and approved by the commission, the State Historic Preservation Office has increased their award to $24,000. Like I said, I believe we're still on track from a budget standpoint with some help. I did contact the state of Alaska SHPO to let them know that post-practice production, et cetera, are exceeding the original estimate, and as we voted on at the last meeting, they are going to reimburse $24,000. The other good news was they originally had sent us some documentation saying that they were going to give us somewhere short $24,000 because of some state fees, and they have now said that those fees are not enforced, so they will be reimbursed a full $24,000. There's no anticipated extra cost to the city because our volunteer hours and in-kind are far above that, so that's fantastic. Highlighted is the Rotary Club of Stewards made a donation, which is fantastic. Also, maybe a couple $100 more. Mary Ann can talk about that as well if that's needed. Bruce Jaffa, although he has decided he won't be able to manufacture signs, even though he has talked about that and realized that we actually can do it cheaper on our own, has indicated a couple times he might be willing to either donate some time, some man-hours, or some other donations. And then, of course, you and I are Starling donated $1,000 as well. The fundraising committee, we need to convene and dial this, and I said if anyone has need to have contact with you as well, because I know that you're an operator, so that'll be fantastic as well. Like I said, trifold walking tour map, we've got all the costs on that. A little color layout, more or less what this would look like. This isn't Stewart, but it shows you what they've done with the previous map as well too. And like I said, committee, Historic Preservation Committee, working quite a bit. We have Historic Preservation Advocacy, Mary Ann, Tanya Sue. Volunteer recruitment and engagement is Tangi, Cheryl, and I was going to ask Jim. The question mark is, these question marks are that I want to make sure that these committees would work for you guys. And then fundraising and in-kind partnerships was myself and Sue, and wanting to know if Jim would be interested in either of these last two. Marketing, radio, newspaper at this point is just Mary Ann. So a lot of words on my part. Any questions before I delve into the whole thing about when we might get the signs and a potential public event that we might do beforehand to satisfy the requirements? Any questions?
No, I don't.
Comment regarding marketing. Wolf Kurtz he's in charge of the radio, so he may be willing to do some spots for us.
Yes, we can certainly contact him and tie that into what we're doing with Facebook and so on. So, you know, the first step was, that's a good idea. The first step was getting the signs done, getting some proofs and so on of the signs, planning some events and so on, and then we'll be able to start communicating out to the public what we've done with that. So, yes, duly noted. Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
This is Commissioner Benoit. I have a question. I'm looking at the timeline, and it says on 6/1, walking tour map designs complete. So does that mean that that's the time that Peter would have the walking tour actual map complete? Meaning, of course, that we have to mark.
The layout for us to look at on the first.
Okay, so that's in less than 2 weeks. Meaning we have to get him all of our stuff. Immediate. Okay, I just wanted to check on that because, yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. So let's talk public events for a minute. So I've done some walking around with Commissioner Benoit, and I know that other commissioners have done the same and looked around or driven around and looked at the different locations and everything and familiarized ourselves with where we're going to be putting these signs, and we're starting to think about where would they go specifically and all those kind of things. And as you look at it, it's not surprising that you think, wow, putting 26 signs in at one time or over a couple weekends, whatever it might be, is a lot. Physically, it's a lot. To give you an idea of the conversations that we've been having, doesn't scare me. Conversations we've been having with Peter sent us a message from Corvus Design saying he's going to send us 26 very big boxes probably, or a bunch of very big boxes under 26, where everything's going to be neatly wrapped and packed and everything, and it's going to all have to be stored somewhere. So that's one thing that I'll need to, that's my first question. I need to figure out where I can send them, because I think they need to go in on a city facility, ideally, and I don't know who to ask for that, but ideally they would go in the city warehouse. That's the first step.
May
Then we
I,
would unpack all those signs. What's that?
may I interject or ask a question?
Yes. Please.
It makes sense to have the city hold those and to receive them, except that in that we're on a tight timeline, would it be better for one of us to receive them so that if they come in on a Saturday, we're here to receive them? And then if they are stored in a warehouse, will we have access 7 days a week?
I suspect that, okay, let's think about that for a minute. So I suspect that the 26 signs that are boxed up are probably going to take a reasonable amount of room that I don't know that any of us have a place to put that many signs. I certainly don't, not easily. So once we get the signs and we unbox them, we can certainly take the signs. They're not that big. They're maybe, I don't know, half-inch thick or something. Maybe not even that big. By 22, by 34, whatever they are. They're not huge. So you can literally take all the signs out of the box, put blankets between them or cardboard between them or whatever, put them in the back of the pickup truck, and then you can haul them to a reasonable place, wherever that is, even my basement probably or whatever. But you can take them somewhere. But we need them to be received somewhere where they can be taken care of. It's kind of a minor detail because yes, absolute need if they had to be delivered in my front yard, we can unpack them. I'm not real concerned about that, but I think it would be convenient to have them be in a city warehouse. So
I have
fixing that thought though. What's
I,
that?
I have a cargo trailer. So I think Gary and I
I didn't
could,
think about that. I have a cargo trailer too. I didn't even think about that.
yeah. So I was,
Good
then,
idea.
yeah, either you or me could keep
That's a
them,
great idea.
yeah.
That's a great idea. That's
Yeah,
a great
it
idea.
is.
So let's talk about what happens after that. So physically having the pressure to like take all these signs and go install them real quick and dig all the holes and put in the signs and put in the concrete, put all those things. Wow, by the way, probably people are stopping and asking you questions and going, what are you doing? It is a lot. The number one first thing we need to do is we need to fill the requirement for letting people know what we've done with this project. So we'll do that via marketing and so on. We've also discussed the fact that we could do that via a city council meeting, which we've agreed to do, and which we will do. So that's easy because we right now have digital representations of that. So we right now could put digital in, or we could bring representations of whatever the sign, and we could show exactly what we've done, and we could do a report of the project. That's not a problem. And that satisfies the grant. Done. What I think would make sense is if we could come to some type of agreement to take those 26 signs out of the box and actually just display them, just like you would artwork, at, say, the museum or, any of a number of places that are in town that might be able to hold those, and we put them up on 26 easels and we were there as commissioners to tell people about the project, that would be really cool. The cool part about that is if they were on display somewhere for a week or two, you can take them out up to you at a time, and you could go do installs and let people know about the ongoing installs, get volunteers and everything else. I just think it makes a whole lot of sense instead of putting them in just 26 of them in a trailer and trying to do all at one time. I think it'd be a really cool way to get the public excited. What it would mean is I need either the library or a public place somewhere to allow us to do those displays. So that was my idea on what we could do as those signs. Worst case scenario, here's the absolute worst case scenario. If the signs don't come in on time, we can still meet the requirements. We could literally take those, I could send them to Great Original, and I could print off 26, 18 by 24, or even 24 by 36 or whatever, foam core, full color signs, and we could put them on regular easel, and you could absolutely hold each of those and or display them in a place where you would 100% show our public what we're doing. They don't have to be in the ground by June 30th. The state was clear with me about that. They do have to be shown that the project is complete.
All right.
So these are just ideas for Plan B.
Okay, so
Okay?
Plan
We
B.
can't control in getting them.
Okay, Commissioner LeBrecq, Plan B. Can you play around with the timeline on that for us? Physically, when do we have to have those in the ground by?
Don't. There's no.
Sometime in July. They're not worried about that. We have to have the public meeting before June 30th.
Okay,
Shows the work that we've done. That's why I'm saying I can even produce them even on foam core, and they would be fine. Which would be kind of a cool thing to play around town anyway, to show people the walk before, but
yeah,
I think we'll have the sign. I don't think we'll have the ground. I think we'll get the sign sometime the week of June 20th or whatever, but I don't know, but we won't have the ground. That's what I think will happen. But again, and the thing I'm talking about printing stuff off, something that can be done in a couple days. That's not a huge thing, because we have all the files. So I'm just looking for, like, I'm gonna make a phone call, figure out who's gonna be, just because I can't control those things getting here. We are on time with what we said we were gonna do,
right.
but Peter seems to want a plan B just in case. So that's what we're talking about.
Okay. So,
Valerie, can you hear?
yes, Miss Kingsling, yes?
Yes. I just wanted to share, just from my perspective, as the brand administrator, along with Nanette, is that, we would have to have all the invoices by June 30th. So that would be our goal as far as covering the expenditures. So whatever, this Plan A or Plan B, just keep that part in mind, please.
Absolutely. And I did just get, Ms. Kingston, I did just get new invoices just today from Peter for the majority of the work, for all his work, all the posts, everything just came today, and I'll forward those to you tomorrow morning. So that's the majority of the money.
Oh, okay. So is that also going to be, we're paying iZone for this?
Yep. We're willing to pay it and just be reimbursed with me.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, Tangi, going back to the public event on Thursday night's meeting, we voted to do a council on the 28th, the council meeting presentation.
Yep.
10 minutes with computerized, I don't know why I would, yeah.
And that satisfies the grant requirement.
Yes, and I think as far as scheduling anything beyond that, like, the idea of, I think your idea of displaying them at the library on all these different easels sounds a little much, but, I think it's a good idea to be able to display some while we're, installing some, because you're right, we're not going to be able to be doing them all at once. But, we'll, the community room, I believe, is where we would do it, and that's up for, when it's available.
Right.
That was my question. If we were going to have them on display, how long would we want to do that? You can't commandeer that kind of space for.
No, I kind of like your idea what you just said, though, showing some of them. We could put the thank you sign there, we could put a narrative sign there, what we've done, some pamphlets, whatever, because we'll have walking tour pamphlets by then. Walking tour pamphlets, or whatever it might be, and we could display 5 of them or something, and keep the rest in storage, and then move them out, install them, we can switch things out.
Well, this is Commissioner Ward. The nice thing about doing a PowerPoint is you could set that up in a much smaller space that just flashes the signs.
That's true.
Yeah.
You could kill that with 2 birds with 1 stone with the PowerPoint.
Yeah, you're right about that. So that would be fine. We get the signs in, we keep them in storage. I didn't even think about the trailer. That was great. We put them in storage. We have the PowerPoint running north of the library. We've already had the city council thing. We've met all the requirements. So, and that, it don't get here. It's well below. That's
So,
all I have.
okay, but I have a question for you. You were the one you spoke with Leaf at Resurrection Rental about the backhoe at $1,200 a week?
I did speak to them about the backhoe. That is correct, but they have not indicated any discounts for anything.
Well, does their week run Monday to Friday? Because I was thinking maybe we
They
could,
did not say,
because
they didn't say that, they did not say that, they have two backhoes.
yeah.
At some point, we'll need to reserve them, so.
Well, what I was thinking was, maybe we could get Friday night to Sunday night, 2 weekends, and have that be our $1,200.
That's a really interesting approach, I like that approach a lot.
Because weekends would be better for us.
It's better for us and probably better for construction crews who probably aren't working on the weekend.
Yeah,
That's a great idea.
So they'll be renting their backhoes on a time when they wouldn't necessarily be renting it.
Great idea. I like it.
okay,
Thank you.
all right. Well, I'll get a hold of Leaf unless you want to.
No, if you would, I'd appreciate that very much.
Okay,
So, first question was back to the fundraising. Commissioner Ward and I had a brief conversation with Commissioner Ward. Would you mind addressing what we were talking about?
No, I'm happy to address it. Iris Darling has volunteered to go to the businesses downtown to solicit donations. She feels that a lot of the businesses would contribute. If I go with her, she's happy to do it. So I spoke to her right before the meeting, and we're going to get together tomorrow to see how that's going to work.
That's amazing. So I'll get some fresh numbers to you. I think at this point, based on estimates, I'm maybe 2,500, 3,000 short, but just to be safe.
Right.
So it all might come up, yeah. If we were ready to say $3,000 to $5,000, I think we'd be in really good shape.
Right. So Iris and I will get together tomorrow. She sounds like she's ready to get going, and we might even do it tomorrow, so.
Tongi,
Yes, ma'am.
you have brought up Bruce Jaffa Construction from the very beginning, but it's always he's indicated, or he might. Can you pin him down as to what he can help us actually do or contribute?
He and I were in conversation several times last week to the point to where he was speaking to the designer, and we had some thoughts of him maybe doing all the time, and then we realized that this for the scale of design, what they can do, that they can do things cheaper. But he has indicated that he'd help. I did send him a text this weekend. I'll follow back up again with him.
Okay, super, thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I do have another question. I brought this up on Thursday night, and making our brochure 11 by 7.
The sign permit, Tommy, can you please mute? You have a lot of background noise. The sign permit has been updated for somebody.
By the way. So,
I'm not sure what all the voices, but.
Okay, commissioners, somebody needs.
Very important.
Thank you, Commissioner Ward.
The key thing is that people decide where they'd like to have their sign, but also have a plan B. And then we have to get these guys to come out. And what they're going to do is they're not going to go to the place where you want to put your sign and go, oh yeah, that's okay. They're just going to look and they're going to mark some spots and say, here's where your lines are.
They'll tell you where your sewer is, they will tell you where your water line is, they will tell you where your electric. They wrote sewer right in front of my little lilac tree. I know exactly where everything is. They're very thorough.
The key thing, I looked at on your website today to kind of
Just
see
have
how
them come
this
out.
works. And it says that you have to let them know before you dig. And you have to give them at least 2 days notice, but you cannot do it more than 15 days out. So we have to kind of time it within 2 weeks of the sign installation. And I think probably the best way to make this work is to have a list that we put together of all the properties. Of course, it doesn't count the ones where it's going to be on buildings, but set something up, have them come in one day and do all the properties. And so the key thing is for all of us to talk to our property owners and go, where would you like to put the sign? Where's your plan B? And are you okay with these guys coming and marking, probably with some spray paint on the
That's what they
ground,
do.
where where your lines are within 2 weeks of site installation so that they can just come and do that.
And we have a clear definition from the city as to where the city's property is and where the owner's property is.
No. So the deal is, the city has said, we want these signs to be on people's private property and not on the city property. And of course, that's problematic because back in the day when some houses were built, the property lines were way different than they are now. So I've talked to the city before and said, well, what about if the city property, if doing that is going to be, the sign has to go in somebody's living room. Obviously, that can't work. And so basically, they said, hey, well, we're going to be flexible, but it's up to the property owner to figure out where to put the signs and to, be sure it's on their property. So the city is not going to come out and check these, and they're not going to come and mark anything. They're leaving it up to the property owners to do that.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, that's the deal. They permitted it, and they said they're leaving it up to the property owners to do that, and they're okay with that.
Commissioner LeBrecq starts sounding better and better to get all the signs and stack them up inside a trailer and put them out a few at a time, doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay, so I have two things. Is there any reason why we couldn't install posts before we installed signs?
Not really.
Okay, good. Second, Commissioner Benoit. Oh, thank you, Commissioner LeBrecq. Commissioner Benoit. I was under the impression, and it seems reasonable to me, that the city would have told us, where, how far into the property, city property is, so that we had a uniform placement for these, that this onus wouldn't be put onto the owner.
The problem is, I asked them all about that very thing, like a month ago. And they said it's different every place in the city. There is no standard thing. Like, there's no standard thing that says people's property lines start within so many feet of the center line of the road. It's different all over the place.
But
Which is why they don't want to have to worry about that. They're leaving it up to the property owner to be responsible to know where their property is.
yeah, the city has software that can show them where, the various lot lines are, and, okay, I'll call Jackie tomorrow. Okay, moving on. Sorry for the interruption, Commissioner Benoit.
So the next part is the walking tour, the somewhere you could go in the back of the house. You need to get that pretty much done in within the next 2 days and send it to Peter, because there's going to be a bunch of work that he has to do to get this done by, what did he say, June 1st. This is in less than 2 weeks. And so I've been working on it, and I've attached the draft that I have, and I know it's going to be way too big. It's going to have to be edited down. So the key thing is, you can see what I put together, and I was going to ask you tonight if you guys have anything that you think needs to come off, or what you think. If you look at the font, the black font is basically summary of our sign. The green font is properties that people have said, yes, we want to see on the walking tour, but there's not enough money to give them a sign. So some of these properties, I was able to come up with some historical information, and the rest of them, I have nothing. And so then the question is, do we want to put them on the tour with just the address and potential construction date, or do we want to leave them off until the next time? The purple font was properties where I thought it would be worth adding because they were on previous walking tours. And then if I highlighted it in how if he really needs some information, or not if the information is accurate, or if it's worth putting in there. So it's just kind of a flag to me that I look, you know, need to come back and really work on that part. So, keeping this in mind, that we need to get this done within like 2 days, I did send it to Colleen this morning. She was going to take a quick look, and I pointed out some things that, you know, like or highlighted that by chance, you know, she could look and see if she has any information that we could add, or some of these things that, you know, just to make sure that they're historically accurate. Like I said, I think a lot of these things are going to have to be narrowed way down. Peter pretty much said all these things. It's like a sentence or two. Well, we have more than that. So, but this is the start. So I need to get him something so he can look at it and go, we need to take, you know,
Right.
this in half, or look at it spatially and figure it out.
Well, if we can increase our brochure to 11 by 17, that will help on your narratives.
Right.
And then, like, for instance, you have 225 Second Avenue, Today House, 1955.
Right.
Why would we have that one on?
Well, see, that was his house, and she was one that said, yeah, I want to be on the walking tour. It fell below the funding line, but it was somebody that said they wanted to be on. Personally, I think these ones where we have nothing, we should wait until we actually get money and can research, because there may be a really fascinating history, but right now we don't have anything. And unless somebody's going to volunteer to try to do all the research on these houses within the next 2 days, I just don't think we can do it justice. And I guess the question would be, would we want to have just that information on the tour map, 225 Second Avenue, 1955? And I'm not even sure that date is accurate, because I think that house might be older, but we haven't really looked into it. So that's the question. Some of these where we have nothing, what do you want to do with that?
Well, I guess I agree with you on the 225 Second Avenue. I would remove that. And next you have the 303 Second Avenue, Charles Sheldon. But you know who it was, and you do have the date, so I think that would be okay. But I don't know that we have to actually do a mark on the map for one that has very little information. Feel free, commissioners, let's just have a free-for-all here.
This is Commissioner Ward. The one thing we did tell people when we initially contacted them, that if they were not going to be able to have a sign due to funding issues, that we would include them on the walking tour. We did say that early on, and we've said it all along. And so I think that's why Mary Ann or Commissioner Benoit is trying to address that. I do know that Matt and Karen, the 303 Second Avenue, they're not even in state right now. But we did, I think the main thing for me is that we did tell them one thing when we were initially contacting them. And if we take them off the tour, then that's not what we told them we would do. That's my only concern.
What we could do is we could call them and just say, we just don't have any information right now, and instead of just putting your address with a date, would you be willing to wait until we get more funding so we can actually do some research and find out what your history really is? And if they say, yeah, I'm fine with waiting, I think that's better. I think the problem is we don't want to just take somebody off and not talk to them. But I think, personally, I think it's better to not just have an address with a date. I guess I could add something if you're walking around just for people that are interested in how old the houses are, but it's not really adding anything substantive to the walking tour.
Commissioner LeBrecq? Comments?
Is that a question?
Yeah, comments Or Commissioner Pemberton?
See here, this one.
Well, one clarification is we looked through the people that we've spoken to over the course of the tour that told them that we would put them on, whether we had time or not. There's not a huge, extensive list. Have either been in contact with basically everyone. And there's not a big list. Do I have an opinion on whether we put in the cooking house or not? Not at all. This is a bit of a time. We made that commitment, and we did ask.
There's only 6 names.
Discuss with Councilor Granda about this, but I believe that she probably was told that she would be on the walking tour, whether there was a sign or not. So for that particular one,
Okay,
I can understand why that would be a problem.
okay. Commissioner Pemberton?
Yeah, if they were told that they would be on the walking tour, then I think we should be able to include them on there. And really, we wouldn't be saving a lot by not including them. We would be saving much room or anything else.
This is Commissioner Ward. Correct me if I'm wrong, I counted 7 properties that we're talking about.
Can you let Commissioner Pemberton finish? Commissioner Pemberton, can you go ahead and finish?
No, that's basically it.
Yeah, he was done.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, don't reprimand me then.
Oh, I didn't mean to.
If we were to take
What
them
you
off,
did,
how much room
and it's
would
not
we
the
be
first
saving?
time.
Thank you, Commissioner Pemberton. I apologize to Vice Chair Ward. I did not mean to interrupt her. She definitely made a very valid point in that there are 6 properties.
7.
I'm sorry, 7 properties. It sounds like the majority of us feel that they should be kept on, even if there's only an address and a date. If the owner was told that we didn't have the funds to include them, but that they would be included on the walking tour brochure, then we should be good to our word. I understand Commissioner Benoit's perspective, and I just think.
Steve, can I interject just a little bit, just to clarify? I don't think I explained myself that well.
Yes, please, Commissioner LeBrecq.
There are some people who were originally showed interest that we have nothing on them, and they don't have anything but an address. For particular example, the house with the purple trim that's up on Second Avenue. I've spoken to Laura Harrison, former commissioner. She understands there's not really any information at this point. That we'll fully be putting her on the tour next time. That's walking tour and or potentially considering her for a sign. There are others that we've spoken to, as well that simply either didn't have the time, didn't have the interest, originally said that they had interest. So I think if we have follow-up conversations with people and they say, oh yeah, I absolutely want to be on, that's one thing, and we stick to our word. But there are some folks that, like that one in particular, there were 2 houses, I think, from there at one point, and they didn't have any information in their findings, even though they initially said they were interested.
Okay, are
There
either,
was another one that I don't have right on top of my head, but there was another one that I've spoken to that also had indicated interest and then had a family death and so on, and then said, I'll contact you when I'm ready, and has not had any further contact. So I don't think it's everyone that has said that they were interested at some point. I think there's a couple out there that will be fine to leave off. If we've made a promise, we need to stick for our promise. But there are some that we don't need to put them on with just an address. It doesn't make it interesting, because you're just going to walk there and go, what's here?
okay, Commissioner LeBrecq, are you aware if any of those owners are on this list?
I don't have them in front of me, but I did see some of it over the weekend, and I can provide a further report on that.
Actually, I think they're off the list because Commissioner LeBrecq and I have talked, and he told me that. I think I already took them off.
Great. Okay, so this decision is, we're not in a meeting where we vote. So,
Nation to you.
Okay, that's fine. Also, I was kind of curious, like, just your thoughts on, like, for example, 315 Second Avenue. The history that you have gathered is basically history from the 60s, which is kind of a whole different time period from almost all these other ones, where we talked about the history between 1903 and 1930. I guess some of them have gone up to the early 40s. So it just seems like, I just wasn't sure. I felt like that would seem kind of out of place because the history is like totally different time period. And I guess that's one question is, do we want to, you know, narrow it down to older history or does it matter?
that's a really good point. So, do we know the original owner?
Haven't been
I
able to.
think that's just a matter of doing research, and we haven't had a chance to do that. It takes some time to dig back in and go back and find out who the different owners have been.
When do you need to have this to Peter?
So I think within 2 days.
Okay. Okay, I guess I could go to the library and see if there's any information on this property.
Like
The
I
date
said,
says
I've also-
1919, so
I sent a note
there
to
must-
Colleen,
Yeah,
so
19.
if there's
Pardon me?
something in the records about that address, she'll tell me.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Commissioner Manoir?
I said, I did send this to Colleen this morning.
Oh.
And just said, hey, the places that are highlighted or have, you know, purple green font, or, I'm sorry, yeah, that these are places I'm looking for information. So she'll see that, and if they have something, I'm sure she'll let me know.
Okay. Well, that sounds good, and Commissioner Ward is gonna get a hold of a couple of property owners,
I'm pretty sure they'll be okay with being in the next round.
okay, which would take it down to 5.
Then we have 338 Fifth Avenue and Hotel Seward.
I think there's probably some information about Hotel Stewards, and that's what I'm hoping that Colleen can help with. 338 Fifth Avenue, those little kind of like little teeny houses across from You Can Use It. I think
Okay,
they were built somewhere between 1930 and 1940, but I don't have anything on them.
okay, so, so you've asked Colleen to look into the things that are highlighted or colored. So I don't mind calling Hotel Seward if you want more.
I've spoken, Chair Chief, I'm in communications with Hotel Steward, with Mary. She's already sent me information over today, yes ma'am.
Okay, great. Okay, good, you got that covered. Up top that page, 1200 4th Avenue Seward Mariners Memorial. All we need to do there is get the year that was put in place, and it was not in the 20s or 30s. That's just been done in the last, I don't know, 10 years. But,
But the memorial itself is not old. It was just, the reason I put that in here, I wasn't sure if historically the people that were being honored there
Yes.
might be
yes, You-
historical
Yes.
residents of Seward. But
You-
the other reason for that was, originally I had talked to Jackie, and she kind of wanted to, she was hoping we'd have something down around the boat harbor. She hoped that visitors coming into town, like off the boat or the train or whatever, would see something that leads them to the walking tour so that people are aware of it. And I also added Benny Benson Memorial.
Yeah, I see that.
Because that is important. And
Yes.
so I was trying to think of something else that could be down there that kind of gives a couple little spots down there to tie this in. And I think, I was talking to Leslie on the phone, I think he mentioned that place, so if anything had to drop off the June work, that's probably something I would pick to drop off because it isn't anything old or
But
really
You-
beautiful, but,
you are,
it's something I thought of putting on to try to
Oh.
go harbor.
okay, well, there, you are right in your first assumption. Every sailor on there, it's not limited to any time. I mean, it's any time throughout our history, up to the point that it was put on, and then they add mariners as needed. So I think that is,
I think I agree.
yeah. I think that one should be left.
Okay.
Um,
The other thing is, like, the ones that are in purple are ones that I added because, on previous walking tours, or it seemed like a good idea. I was also trying to tie in a couple of the heritage trees that were on Gerald Griswold's heritage tree and shrub report. So, for example, I noted the historic lilac at Resurrect Art Coffee House, and also the heritage cottonwood down at Hoban Park, and that big open grown spruce tree across from Hotel Stewards. One that I wanted to put on here too is this Norway maple up
Yeah.
on Third Ave. But I feel like that's, I feel like that one, we need permission. We should ask the property owner. So I'm still trying to find out who those people are, how we can ask them for permission.
should I just go knock on their door?
That would probably be the way to go because I looked them up. They seem to be Seward residents, but I can't find a phone number. So-
Okay. All right,
The last one we haven't discussed is 504 Adams Street, the Oddfellows Hall. That seems to, that's a pretty old building.
Yeah, they're on here, and I got permission from Tom the other day to add that. I was going to see if there's anything else I could say besides the one little sentence that I had. I just need to do some more research, but yes, you have permission to do that.
Okay, so that one is not yellow anymore.
okay, good. All right, so, I think it was also good of you to include on ours, properties that were on previous walking tours. That was smart. Okay, so before we get off this point, okay. You have 300 First Avenue, 1925 in green. Are we waiting for Colleen, or do you need one of us to look further into that?
I think that was good because
Okay.
as you can see, that was the place that Van Empel stayed when he was painting his St.
Right.
Peter.
Right,
So that seems pretty interesting. That seems like plenty of history for that.
yes. Okay, how about this? Commissioner Benoit, go down the list. Let's just, finalize this, making sure that properties that need to be researched, you have assigned or we have volunteered so that nothing goes through the cracks. So I guess at this point, it's just the things that are highlighted or colored.
Okay, so just going down the list, the way I see it is 225 Second Avenue. Sue is going to talk to Christie and see if she wants it on there or wants to wait. If she wants it on there, we'll just leave it with the address and the date. If she wants to wait, she can let me know, we'll take it off. The same thing Sue's going to do with 303 Second Avenue. She knows the people, and we'll see if those stay on or they go off.
Yes, ma'am.
315.
Second Avenue, if you guys think that is, reasonable history to have on here, I'll just leave it on there. That's the one that's like from the 60s.
Right.
The next thing is the Norway Maple on
Nope.
423rd Avenue, and Cheryl is going to go knock on the door and ask. And you can let me know if you want to leave it or take it off.
Right. Okay.
The Hotel Stewards, Tongi is in communication to get any history they have, plus I specifically asked Colleen about that, because I want to make sure that what we put here is accurate, and so we'll get that straightened out. 338 Fifth Avenue, those are the little houses across, and you can use it. I'm gonna just leave that on there, but if somebody, I think
Oh,
Tongi initiated contact with Michael O'Connell about it.
Yeah, I talked to O'Connell. Did you also, Commissioner LeBrecq?
I sent him a text yesterday with what I knew from the previous email which he sent me, which was that he believed this house was built in the 1930s, that it was moved from Fort Raven in the 1940s, and then I needed some more information to verify that information and or anything else that he had, so we could put it on the printed map. Not
Okay,
heard back from him yet.
okay.
And
Not heard
also,
back from him.
I did get a list of, that Colleen sent me. It's a list that they had at the museum that was put together by Kim Kowalski of all of the properties that supposedly came from Fort Raymond. And I did check that list, and that property is not on it. So although he thinks that it came from Fort Raymond, it's not on the list, which doesn't mean it didn't, just means I think there's a question
I think,
about that. So
yeah, I
that's
think,
something, let's put something on unless we really know.
I think his confusion is, I don't know if those were officers' quarters, but they were, used by World War II, soldiers. So maybe that's his confusion. They weren't moved from Fort Raymond.
Well, if you have some history on that we could put there, that'd be great. I don't know anything about it.
Okay, Commissioner Benoit, let me know if Colleen doesn't come up with something, and then I'll go and take a look at Mary Berry's books. Okay? And I know I have to do
Okay.
that tomorrow. Okay, moving
How
on.
about this? How about if we just say, Cheryl, you're gonna look into that property?
Okay,
If I hear something from Colleen about it,
yeah,
I'll let you know.
yeah. Yep, that sounds good.
Okay, and then continuing on the list, let's see, we have Oddfellows Hall. That was just myself because I wanted to see, besides it being a community center, I know that place was important for other reasons. I just need to look it up. I forget why it started, but I'll take care of that. See if I can come up with another sentence. And I think that was all. So if we could do that in the next 2 days, then I'll get this off to Peter, because I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of edits after that, but he has to have something to work with, like right away, so.
Yes. Got it.
Okay.
Okay, so, you have to have this information by tomorrow night, correct? That way you're clear to go for submitting it Wednesday morning.
That would be perfect.
Okay,
Okay, get it done.
Thank you.
yep. Okay, now, let me see, you end with, okay, yes. Your final piece on your laydown was the corrected sign permit. Yay, good job, Commissioner Benoit.
Thank you.
Okay. Is that all you have for us, Commissioner Benoit?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Any other commissioner have anything? Any question, any comment? with that, we're going to adjourn the meeting. We'd like to thank Clerk Stollard, and I thank all of my fellow commissioners, and feel really good about what we're doing and the progress we're making. So at 8:25 p.m., we are adjourned.